Hello everybody, Jonathan Schick here with another edition of Shtisel Man. Here we're going to get involved in the various denominations and find out exactly what kind of Jewish is the Shtisel family. I mean, they're officially known as Ultra-Orthodox, but what does that really mean? Okay, and we're going to overlay this with some scenes in episode 3 of season 1. So let's get going. I have a little graph for you prepared. And we are going to show you here that I'm going to show you about the various denominations, starting with the Americas, very, very briefly, just to give you some context. In America, there's 3 main denominations in Judaism: Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform. And Orthodox has 3 main divisions. These are all generalizations, but in general, there's the Hasidic, Yeshivish, and Modern Orthodox. So, first of all, the Hasidic ones are the ones that basically are very, very insular. They have a wonderful, wonderful family lives, and as do the others, as do many Jewish families, no matter what denomination, but they're very into family and ritual. As you see in the Shtisel series, there's a lot of pathos there. There's a lot of loyalty. But the general thing is that they're insular. They view the world in it as a dangerous place to some degree. There's very many influences. They don't want people to, so to speak, go off the path. So they try to protect their own and keep things in a very insular way. In the yeshivish world, there's sort of more of a middle of the road, where they're very much promoting Torah study as the primary activity, but they're more involved in the world and less insular. The modern Orthodox are the most connected, if you will, to the outside world, very much so, in fact, and they view them in more like together, jointly, both the Torah world and secular world as jointly as one. Now, as we get to Israel, where the Shtisel family, of course, is located, we get to, let me just tell you, Conservative and Reform have less observances. It, again, is beyond the scope of this video to discuss that further. But let's get to Israel, and here we go. So in Israel, you have the Orthodox can be divided up into 3 ways. Well, first of all, there's the Orthodox, and there's Chiloni, which is secular. And then within the Orthodox, there's Charedi, Ultra-Orthodox, Dati, religious, and Mizrahi, religious Zionist. Okay, so what this means is that, first of all, there's very little conservative and reform in Israel. So you have the main thing is either you're Orthodox, which Orthodox basically means, in a very general sense, if you ask someone if they're Orthodox Jewish, then they keep the Sabbath, they keep kosher, and they keep the laws of family purity, which is marriage and sex and whatnot, which again is another discussion. There's obviously many other commandments and mitzvot, but that's the general thing. The Chiloni, secular in Israel, are people who are very much Jewishly, well, to various degrees Jewishly connected. They live in Israel after all. They're very Zionistic, believe in the state, serve in the army and whatnot, but in terms of praxis, in terms of actual keeping the Sabbath, kosher, and whatnot, they are much more lenient, or secular, if you will. Within the Orthodox world, you have the Charedi, the Ultra-Orthodox, which is the Shtisel family, arguably, and then you have the Dati general. Remember in the scene where Gitti goes over to the shops outside of her own community because she was ashamed of Lipa's absence, so she tries to find a job among the Chiloni, secular community, and the shopkeeper asks, why don't you find a job in your own religious community, etc. And then she goes and she sees the son of the shopkeeper in the house when she ends up being a housekeeper, and he asks, are you a dati, are you a das? Which is almost a little bit of a dig, if you will, about are you like a religious, meaning like are you small-minded, if you will. Again, there's a lot of tension. One of the great things about this series, by the way, is that both the secular and the Orthodox are for those who have TVs in the Orthodox, are loving on this series so much, and it's actually bringing in a maybe in an intentional way or unintentional way more understanding between the secular and Orthodox communities, and it's a wonderful thing because everyone is of one nation, and we should just get along, shouldn't we? So, but this series is doing a lot for that. But anyway, within the Orthodox, there's the Ultra-Orthodox, the Das, religious general, and then there's Dati Mizrahi or Dati Leumi, which we would call religious Zionist. Like Sachar, the brother-in-law of Shulam, would be considered religious Zionist. A main difference is that the ultra-Orthodox won't serve in the army, not because they want to, shirk their duties. They feel that the influences of the army on their religious lifestyle would be too much to handle. We're not arguing the point here whether they're right or wrong, but whereas the religious Zionist community, they do serve in the army, and they learn Torah and study Torah, but they also